Yeah, I think it all comes down to what your strategic priorities are, right? And I think if like anything, if you can marry the technology capabilities with what your priorities are, it'll put you in a position to prioritize which AI applications you go after first.
Mm.
'Cause what you don't want to do is spin your wheels in something that might be very challenging to do, doesn't align with what you're trying to get done as an organization, or doesn't provide a ton of value. So I think it's important to plan, right? Which is kind of the
Yeah.
phase that we're in, and I suspect most companies are, and sales leaders as well.
Welcome to Think Deeply, Speak Simply, the podcast that explores the art and science of business communication. Sponsored by Prezent, the AI-powered platform transforming the way professionals share ideas and tell their stories. And now, here's your host, Rajat Mishra, CEO of Prezent and passionate advocate for clear and impactful communications.
The rise of AI in sales has transformed how businesses operate, bringing both exciting opportunities and unique challenges. Companies that embrace AI can gain a competitive edge, while those who resist may struggle to keep up. As Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, once said, AI is the defining technology of our time, but it's nothing without human intent. Successfully adopting AI in sales is a skill that leaders and teams can refine, from improving customer personalization to driving data-driven decisions. AI has the potential to revolutionize sales when implemented correctly. Today, we'll explore the challenges and opportunities that AI presents in sales. Our guest today, Drew Logan, brings first-hand experience leading AI adoption efforts in Medtronic's commercial strategy. He'll share insights on how companies can overcome resistance, maximize AI's potential, and balance automation with the human touch. Whether you're in sales, marketing, or leadership, this episode has something for you. You'll gain actionable strategies to future-proof your approach to AI and sales. Drew, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you.
Rajat, thanks for having me. Looking forward to our conversation.
So, Drew, before we get into the rest of the discussion, you and I know each other, but our audience would love to learn a little bit more about you and your background.
Sure. I am a medical device guy. I've been in the business most of my career with a few different companies, but most recently and for the last 20 some years, I've been with Medtronic, the world leader in medical devices. And, from a specialty standpoint, I've been in specialties like urology and mostly cardiology, but most recently started in gastroenterology for the last 5 years, and a variety of different roles, primarily commercial leadership roles, both sales and marketing, but I did do a stint in product development at a couple different companies as well. So pretty varied background.
Awesome. Drew, and I know you a little bit, and you're an amazing, empathetic people leader, and you care about innovation as well, kind of the best of both worlds. So let's start with sales.
Mm-hmm.
I know you care a lot about innovation and people. So how are you bringing or thinking of the role of AI when it comes to sales?
Yeah, I mean, we're thinking about it a lot, and I think like probably most sales leaders or most leaders in business in general, how quickly do you try to adopt, AI into your business, and where should you start, right? And so
Mhm.
we're asking those questions a lot. I think some of the really interesting areas that we're looking at for sales is around, lead generation and lead qualification. So using AI to evaluate and score leads based upon, likelihood of conversion will allow our sales teams to focus appropriately. Forecasting is another area that we're looking at. How can you use AI algorithms to analyze historical sales data, market trends to predict future sales performance? One area I'm really excited about is chatbots and virtual agents, right? How can you use AI-driven conversational agents to take off some of the more mundane tasks that our reps might have to perform, maybe even interacting with customers, And then, embedding AI into CRM is going to be really critical, right? I think most companies use the CRM, customer relationship management system. That's going to kind of bring it all together. So, and there's a ton of other applications, but those are the ones that we're looking at first.
Awesome. And I'd love to dig into some of those,
Sure.
Drew, around engagement and chatbots. But let's start off with if you look at your peer group and other sales leaders, what do you think are the big misconceptions about using or not using AI in sales?
Yeah, I think they're probably the same misconceptions that that anyone would have about AI, right? So some of the things I can think about are the fact that they fear the answer roles, right? I hear that in the AI that I sell to physicians every day, right? The reality is AI has been designed to augment, humanity, not replace them. And so I think that's a misconception. The complexity of AI, right? AI is going to be hard to use. It requires extensive technical knowledge, and if we design AI correctly, that's really not the case. And then the other thing I think is a misconception is that AI is going to be perfect, right? Like as soon as I implement AI in whatever application, that is going to be perfect from the start. And the reality is, it's probably going to be clunky. I'd mentioned chatbots. I've had conversations with chatbots in the past, and you can just tell. But I will tell you, I had one this weekend with Edward, and he didn't tell me he was a chatbot, but I knew it, and he was perfect. And so they're getting better and better, right? So this misconception AI is going to be perfect in every application is, we're still at the leading edge of this technology, and it's only going to get, better and easier to use. So those are a few misconceptions I think the team probably has.
Great list. And you're right, we're just in the beginning of the beginning here. So let's dig into some of the use cases, Drew. I think how much ever you can share, maybe you can give a picture of how was your team and sales using AI and pick an area, pipeline management, customer engagement, and then how has that experience changed now? If you can just paint that picture, that would be super helpful for the audience.
Yeah. Well, we're just starting to use it in some of these applications. I'll talk. I can talk a little bit about an agent that we're working on, but let's go back to the pipeline management discussion that we were just having, and since you touched on it, I think that it can improve accuracy by analyzing historical data, right? Market trends and customer behaviors. So it becomes, for example, if you have a customer that has a traditional purchasing cycle of X months, that knowledge that resides in the sales rep's head today is now within AI, right? And when you've got potentially hundreds of thousands of customers, being able to aggregate that data into predictable forecasts is really, really helpful. Also, AI can analyze sales reps' historical forecasting accuracy. Salesforce does this, and they've talked to me about it with their Einstein product. Some reps are very, very good at forecasting, and some have historically underclubbed or overclubbed. So it can handicap for that. So a lot of, I think, great things around that can be done around forecasting. From a pipeline management standpoint, I think AI, the promise of AI, again, we're not using it this way yet, but I think we're very actively involved with implementing for this, is that it's going to help to understand the health of the pipeline. So, for example, how many deals and what value of deals should you have in each stage of your pipeline or your sales process, right? Having that historical data so that you can look at the health of a pipeline. As in a sales leader, I can look at the health of the pipeline of all my teams, right? And by being proactive about that and understanding that, you could actually insert, maybe help for a sales rep that might be a laggard in one of the sales stages in terms of the number of deals or the velocity they have for the deals. And then I just say maybe the final point around this is just predictive lead scoring, helping sales teams focus on customers that have the highest likelihood of closure. I think is going to be really helpful. So, I don't have a lot of experience, frankly, using it for these applications, but we're designing it and discussing it, and we'll look forward to sharing maybe next year if we do another podcast, the results.
Well, I will definitely take you up on that, Drew. So let's talk about the stage you're in, because many Fortune 2000 companies are actually in that stage.
Yeah.
You know that AI has potential, experimenting with a few things. So maybe you can take us through that to that point when you're considering an AI solution.
Yeah.
What challenges would leaders in Fortune 2000 companies face when they start thinking of that early phase of adoption?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it all comes down to what your strategic priorities are, right? And I think if, like anything, if you can marry the technology capabilities with what your priorities are, it'll put you in a position to prioritize which AI applications you go after first. Because what you don't want to do is spin your wheels in something that might be very challenging to do, doesn't align with what you're trying to get done as an organization, or doesn't provide a ton of value. So I think it's important to plan, right? Which is kind of the phase that we're in, and I suspect most companies are, and sales leaders as well. So we've done a lot of that work. We are partnering with Salesforce around an agent project right now. We actually secured some funding as part of our relationship, and working with a third party for implementation. And it's all around, again, using an agent to interact with our sales team using voice, which I think is critical in sales because our teams are out in the field, they're in their car. The last thing we want to do at night is come home and enter stuff into their CRM, computer, into their computer into the CRM system, and think about what they did last Monday when it's Thursday night, right? And so to be able to do it real time via phone, recap a sales call, have the chatbot or the agent interact, ask questions to go a level deeper, and then take that information and automate the data into the CRM, I think is going to really help populate our data and give us much more rich database in order to mine it and do some of the things I just talked about, and also just take a load off of our reps. And so that's kind of our first project that's in active development.
Yeah. I love that, Drew. Like, you're bringing an important point that it's not just using AI, but the mode in which you use AI. Is it written? Is it verbal? That really determines the adoption as well. And then in these early stages, Drew, when you're bringing something like that in, and I know a little bit more about you, that you care a lot about your people and you care about innovation and productivity. How do you introduce that to your teams? Because some people might be wary about AI is here, like you said, not to augment you but replace you. So any tips that you have for leaders on, hey, look, here are some words or phrases you've used for the team to be more receptive to AI rather than resisting it?
Yeah. Well, I think the first and foremost is do what I just mentioned, and that is make sure you're communicating your strategy and your vision to your team. So we have our sales kickoff. We just talked about our end of fiscal year coming up here in a few weeks. So we have our kickoff in June. And during that kickoff, like most sales leaders do, we'll talk about what our sales strategy is for the year and likely beyond. And so I think communicating that and then showing the team how AI is going to help and how it's going to help them. Part of our strategic initiatives within our organization is to make our reps' jobs easier. They deal with a lot of stuff that doesn't necessarily allow them to spend time with the customer or impact direct sales. Ends up being noise that they have to deal with. And I think that happens in most organizations. So how can I take those things off their plate or reduce the time it takes them to do those mundane tasks? And I think, once you explain that to a sales rep and then show them how it can work, I hope the demo, what I just talked to you about at the sales meeting, I think it's going to get them pretty excited, right? And so I think that's kind of the first thing. And then the second thing is just some of the things we just talked about around the fact that the intent here is not to replace you, it's to make us better. There's, I think, a lot of education that needs to go on about AI, and I'm learning that myself. And we'll talk probably about the product I'm selling at some point during this podcast. But I've just learned in selling it what the objections are. And I think they're consistent across functions, industry. It's just the way humans react to this new technology, and it's a little bit scary if you think about where it could go.
Yeah, I love what you said, Drew. Connected to the bigger goal first, like helping them save time, and then show it actually does that and reinforce that message, right? That's super helpful, because there is a new modality, right? Even working with AI, like you said, the first question won't give you the best answer. You have to almost work with it like an assistant. So let's shift to some real world implementations and some lessons from Medtronic, right?
Sure.
So can you share some of your insights, Drew, on Medtronic's use of AI-driven sales strategies? And I think it's called GI Genius, right? So maybe you can tell us a little bit about what is GI Genius and how has Medtronic used it, and you're really at the bleeding edge here.
Yeah, well, it's actually not a sales strategy. It is actually a product, and so this is a product that we're selling to physician customers. And GI Genius is the first FDA-approved artificial intelligence system for the detection of colon polyps during colonoscopy. Wow. So it has been trained on thousands, possibly millions. I don't know what the latest numbers are of images taken during colonoscopy. Second set of eyes. So basically, as a physician is performing the colonoscopy, it puts a green box around any area of concern. Now, what's important is the physician is still in control. So just what we talked about, right? The machine is basically saying, hey, look here, look here, look here. At the end of the day, there's no latency in the procedure. The physician still has to make the decision as to whether they remove that polyp or not. And it doesn't change the procedure anyway. If you think about the importance of this, a busy physician can perform 10 or more colonoscopies in a day. And think about that. They're looking at a screen all day. They likely get tired, maybe distracted. So it's possible that they're going to miss things. In fact, we know what happened. In fact, there's a study that shows that the 10th colonoscopy of the day is not as accurate as the first one. So there's a lesson. When you have to get your colonoscopy, make sure you get one scheduled early in the day. So it's cool. The technology has been studied in numerous clinical studies, including the randomized clinical studies, which is the gold standard in studies. And it's consistently shown an increase in detection rate, a reduction in miss rates. And some of the largest well-known centers around the country and the world are using it. And it's important because if a polyp is missed, and somebody gets a clean bill of health, and they have 10 years to come back for the next colonoscopy. Well, that polyp can turn into precancer. It can turn into cancer. So at the end of the day, we're trying to reduce colon cancer here, which is a significant calling. It's consistent with the mission at Medtronic, and it's been a wonderful technology. So here are the lessons learned. We've been in the market for 3 years, and despite a strong clinical and economic value proposition, we've only penetrated about 6% of the market. Now, that's a lot of systems, but you would think, why wouldn't everybody want to use this? Well, and it's translated into some nice growth for our business. So it's certainly been a really, really helpful technology, but we got to do more. Some of the barriers that we discussed in terms of adoption earlier for salespeople is the same thing that physicians will tell you. So, what I hear frequently is it's too new. So I'm going to wait until it has a little bit more time in the marketplace before I adopt this. Hey, I'm already pretty good at performing colonoscopies, so I'm not sure I need this new technology, right? If it were free, I would use it. But it's not. We have to charge for it. It costs money in an environment where expenses are being scrutinized. What's happening in healthcare. Let's say lower reimbursement in many cases. You had increased labor costs. Other expenses are squeezing healthcare organizations. And we're competing with equipment that is necessary to perform the procedure. You can still do a colonoscopy without GI Genius. It's just not going to be as high quality. So that's another one. So I think, in summary, I would just say we quickly established ourselves as a leader in AI. It's not just within Medtronic endoscopy, but also Medtronic itself is really focused on being a leader within artificial intelligence. We're in our 4th generation of the technology. We've announced various technology improvements that are coming in the future. So we're really doing some pretty cool things. We're opening up the hardware as an open system. So we're going to basically be the iPhone of AI in the GI lab, where multiple algorithms can be hosted. And we've opened it up to other developers because we can't do it all ourselves. So we've asked third parties like academics and inventors to come to us with their ideas. We've had over 70 submissions to our technology store, and we're actively working with the top 5 to 10 right now to to bring in and host on our system, which is pretty cool. So a lot of innovation coming. We've learned a lot. We're I would say hungry to do more, and when you talk to somebody, they're like, I can't believe everybody doesn't use this. And we talked about why. It's just, I think the lessons for people is that, AI adoption takes time, like any new technology, and you have to be patient with it.
That's what an amazing use case and real life example, Drew. Congrats to you and the team at Medtronic for bringing
Thanks.
GI Genius to the market. If you look ahead a year or two, what would GI Genius will look like? Just paint a picture of where would you like it to be in a couple of years. Where do you think it's going to be?
Well, today it is a standalone system. So it's not a real-time learning system. So it's not connected to the network. That's helpful sometimes for some hospitals because they really scrutinize things being connected to the network for obvious reasons, for security and privacy, et cetera. So today it's a standalone box, and when we have to update the algorithm with, like I said, we're on our fourth generation, to do it through a USB stick, and that's kind of archaic. So it'll be connected, likely, if not real time, more closely real time in terms of updates. It will be you'll have multiple algorithms available on our Genius box, so you can imagine on an iPad connected, you could connect to your colonoscopy algorithm, your Barrett's esophagus algorithm, your quality algorithm, your stomach cancer algorithm. So anything within GI and potentially outside of GI. We're not limited to the GI lab, right? We're a big company in just about every medical specialty. So again, that kind of iPhone approach will likely be what you see pretty soon in the marketplace, and we'll have a ton of algorithms over the next couple of years. So yeah, so really, really exciting, and possibly one thing I didn't talk about was that's all clinical. We are actively working on using AI to improve the physician's workflow. So think about the reporting that has to occur at the end of a case that go into their EMR. Quality reporting, like how long did it take me to do the procedure? When did I reach a certain landmark? At what time did I remove a polyp? How many polyps did I remove? That could all be captured by AI. It could even capture what devices you're using. Oh, I used a Cook, a polyp remover. I used a Boston Scientific, guide wire, what have you. All those. There are identifying features to a lot of these products that could be recorded and actually go into the supply system and maybe regenerate an order. So automating some of these processes, which is huge for clinicians, is another area that we're actively working on.
Well, that's exciting, Drew. Super exciting. I love the idea of it becoming a platform, starting with kind of this one use case with broader multiple algorithms, because like you said, no one company, one group of people can innovate as fast as all of us can, right? And also automating, like you said, the workflows and connecting the workflows. That's, we should be back in a year and check in. I would love it.
And, innovators many times might have great ideas around AI, but they don't know where to go with it, right? And so by having this opportunity for them to come into Medtronic, and they can even test it. We have a relationship with NVIDIA through our partner Cosmo in a sandbox. And so you're probably very familiar with this, where you can actually test, in a virtual environment, how your AI would actually work with our platform, and then tune it in this environment, which again gives a pretty unique opportunity for innovators to bring their technology to market.
Awesome, Drew. So we talked about sales and AI and sales. We zoomed into Medtronic and GI Genius. Let's move to the quick fire part of the podcast. So I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You haven't heard these before, and whatever comes to mind, just let us know. Okay. What is one word you would use to describe the art of communication?
Listening.
Okay. How is AI changing the way we communicate?
I don't have to do it in one word, right? Or do you want me to do
a phrase or a sentence? Anything? Yes.
Yeah, it is. Well, I'll use your company as an example. It is allowing me and my team to develop communication vehicles, i.e., PowerPoints, in a much more efficient and creative fashion. So it's saving time from a preparation standpoint, and it's allowing more creativity and more effective communication through vehicles like that. And the training and support that I'll give you a little kudos that your team provides is absolutely adding to our ability to communicate. So that's one use case of how AI is helping.
Thank you, Drew. Thanks for those kind words. What's a common communication myth you wish people would unlearn?
Yeah, that it's all about talking and being articulate. I mentioned listening. I think that's just a critical element to communication. And I've always admired people that are in big meetings and are likely the smartest person in the room, but maybe say the fewest things. But what they say is really impactful.
Awesome. If you could give one piece of advice to someone preparing for a big presentation, what would it be? Let's take the corporate setting in the Fortune 2000.
Yeah, as painful as it is, practice. I hate practicing my presentations, but when I do it, I'm better. So I would say practice. Force yourself to.
All right. Final question. What's something, Drew, you wish you knew about business communication when you started your career?
Oh, that's a good question. I wish that I guess I wish that I had the wisdom and perspective of making a lot of mistakes and being kind of where I am, today. And I don't want to be redundant, but part of that is, really work on active listening, really take pride and be purposeful about watching cues from all of your audience. A little harder to do with the online stuff now. But if you come into meetings and discussions and look at it as a bit of an art and a challenge, and if it's a difficult customer or a difficult person, rather than taking it personally or letting your blood boil, or somebody says something silly, just look at it as an opportunity, as a problem to problem solve. So I wish I knew that back then, and I try to look at it that way today. Everything is a problem that I can help solve, and communication is the way to do it.
Wise words, Drew. It's tough, easy to know, tough to do. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And so that wraps up our communication on AI and sales, the challenges, opportunities, and the best way to integrate it into your sales strategy. We started with exploring how AI can drive efficiency. We talked about supporting better decision-making and how you can improve customer engagement when implemented thoughtfully. Drew, thank you for sharing your expertise. You are one of the most humble and authentic leaders that I know. So just before we go, can you let our listeners know how they can get in touch with you, Drew? And also maybe how they can get in touch with the programs you're running in Medtronic if people want to contribute to it as well.
Yeah, probably the best way is through LinkedIn. If I was smart, I would have my LinkedIn profile ready to provide that to you. But I would just ask people to connect with me via the LinkedIn platform.
Okay, awesome. So Drew, we'll put the notes in the show notes. We'll put your LinkedIn profile. Any link about GI Genius? We'll put that in the show notes as well.
Oh, great.
Okay. We'll work with you to have those links. And
I can give you my LinkedIn and my Twitter, and in fact, I've got that. I'll just send it over to you guys.
Perfect.
Would that be helpful?
Yeah, that would be great. Even the GI Genius link, where you said, innovators can come in and test the platform, play with it. I think that was super interesting. Thank you, Drew. Thank you again for joining us. This was super fun. And so next week we'll continue to explore the art of communication and leadership with yet another incredible guest. To our listeners, if you found this episode valuable, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your colleagues. Until then, let's think deeply, speak simply. See you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to Think Deeply, Speak Simply. This episode was brought to you by Prezent, your secret weapon for brilliant presentations. Visit present.ai to transform how you communicate. Until next time, keep thinking deeply and speaking simply.